everyone, and welcome back to What's the Plan, the podcast where we dive into the matters of our careers in the architecture and urban planning field. I'm Hayley.
And I'm Andrea. So, Hayley, what's the plan this week?
This week's plan is all about success.
So, I think it's quite safe to say that this past year has been extremely eye-opening experience. I think not only in terms of, we graduated, we're now looking to start our careers.
Yes.
But more so, I guess, the emergence of the pandemic has given us a lot of time to reflect.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially on the things that, are important to us. So whether that is a relationship with friends, with our family, our physical health, our mental health, our jobs and hobbies, and etc. All in all, I think our relationship with success in general and what it means to be successful in life has dramatically changed.
And I think with COVID being a thing right now and being in a pandemic, everyone's kind of taking this opportunity to think about what they want personally as opposed to comparing themselves to what other people are looking for. So with this, for us, for example, we've been able to talk a lot about what our personal definitions are for success, for what a career looks like going forward, what we want in life, and just being able to come up with these thoughts has been something that I think with the lockdown and the pandemic has really given us the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I think in particular because both of us, we grew up in an immigrant household, and a lot of times our parents and our families have a lot of ideas or thoughts of how they think our life should be, given how that they grew up with less or grew up in a different situation.
Yeah.
So upon planning this episode, we found that there are a lot of things that we disagree upon with with our parents and things that we do, and so we thought, why not talk about it specifically? And in terms of those, we were specifically talking about our careers and the idea of home ownership.
Yeah.
So before we branch into the specific topics, we thought, why not look into what the dictionary says of what success is?
So according to Merriam-Webster, success is defined as a degree or measure of to attain a desired object or end, and a favorable or desired outcome.
As for dictionary.com, they have 4 different definitions, and the first one being the favorable or prosperous termination of attempts or endeavors, so the accomplishment of one's goal. The second one is attainment of wealth, position, honors, or the like. Third one being a performance or achievement that is marked by success and by the attainment of honors. And the last one being a person or thing that has had success, which is measured by attainment of goals, wealth.
With that being said, though, success is a very subjective concept, and just because these are the dictionary definitions, it doesn't mean that success is defined the same by everyone. So it's important to say that we shouldn't generalize what success is, and we shouldn't criticize or judge another person's view of success.
Yeah, so let's start off with career. What do you think is society's definition, or what have you feel is society's definition of success?
Yeah, so I think when I think about success in a career or in a professional view, what I picture is someone in a full suit with a blazer and just head held up high in a high up position, such as a CEO, a president. And with that, someone that's earning a lot of money, someone who spends a lot of time on their work. So even when they're on family vacations, their phone's always ringing, they're always checking emails. I think what the media portrays as a successful person is usually someone who's always super busy, super focused on their work at all times, and not having a good balance between their work life and their personal life.
So essentially a workaholic.
Yes. Yeah.
So for me, from what my parents have always told me, or what I feel family friends have told me, their term of successful career is a steady, reputable job and earning lots of money. Yeah. So in a typical Chinese household, that relegates to either being a doctor, a lawyer, or something in business such as accounting, which is something that we're both not even in.
Yeah. I think adding on to that, not only is being able to earn a lot of money a big indicator of success in the eyes of our parents, for example, but another thing is just always moving, always keeping busy, because someone who, let's say, is a very successful artist and is able to sell their pieces for a lot of money, that I still think wouldn't be viewed as successful in the eyes of our parents, because they have so much downtime. They have the leisure to just sit around and relax when they're not working on a painting. But even though they're able to sell their paintings for a lot of money, that's not successful because they're not always busy. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, it's like, in their eyes, it's not a reliable career because you can't always expect that money to come. Because like your work is valued by others, or the worth is determined by others. So it's like you won't always get the same amount of money for each piece of art. And in their opinion, is like, that's not reliable, and therefore that is not a success. Yeah. So what is your personal definition of success?
In a career and professional viewpoint, my definition of success is being happy and proud of what you accomplish. So I think this goes with saying, if someone is in a position where they can truly appreciate the work that they put out there, and they don't feel it as a chore, but rather something that they want to pursue, then that is a successful person. I think if we're comparing two people, person A being someone who earns a lot of money but hates their career, is always complaining about their work, just doesn't like what they want, what they're doing, and always is waiting for the day to end, versus person B, who might not earn as much but is always looking forward to going back to work, is always happy and excited to dive into what they're working on, and even just being proud of the work that they put out into the world. With that, I would say that person B is much more successful, in my opinion, than person A is.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And for my personal definition, I went a lot more specific.
Okay.
So, like, in terms of, like, what I actually want to achieve out of my own personal career.
Right, okay.
So, like, much like I always knew that I wanted to become, or to work in the field of architecture, I always knew that I wanted to be licensed.
Okay.
So that is one indicator of success for me. So, like, despite learning about the, like, several different pathways of architecture in university, whether that is, like, project management or building science, I felt that I've never wavered with the idea of wanting to become licensed. So, therefore, my personal definition of successful career in architecture is, like, to be working at an associate level, being licensed and practicing, and creating architecture that is contextually sensitive and also socially minded. Therefore, I'm, like, giving back or helping the community in some way, in a positive, like, impact.
Okay, that's really interesting. I think this is a difference that we have in terms of our views of success, because from what that sounds like, your views of success are more physical goals, as in things that you want to achieve, titles that you want to achieve. Whereas my views of success are more feelings and emotional. It's more of a peace of mind, which I think is really interesting as well. I didn't realize that we differed like that.
Because I feel like by saying just, like, happiness, it's like, it's really general. So I wanted to figure out what happiness in my career meant for me.
Okay, that's fair.
So, like, those milestones, if I can achieve those, like, that is what I will be happy with.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
Okay.
So let's say when you get to that point where you do become an associate, when you do get licensed, but at that point in time, you're still not happy with where you are, would you still view that as a success? Would your baseline of success then be shifted to something else?
I guess that depends on why I don't feel happy at that stage, or why I haven't been, like, why I'm not able to achieve happiness when I reach those milestones. And that could be dependent on, like, the firm that I'm working at, the work that I'm doing. So I think that is very situational basis.
Okay.
So at this point, I can't say that I won't be happy.
For sure.
But at the same time, I can't say that I am 100% gonna be happy.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's like, I don't know until I reach there. But at this point in my career, this is what I think I can determine success by.
Okay, yeah. So I think in comparison to what I'm feeling right now, I think because of the question I just asked you,
Yeah.
that's why my definition of success is so much more broad, because I know that I don't know what point in my life I'm going to be at. I don't know what position I'm going to be in terms of like associate, partner, senior, whatever it is. I just know that the only thing that I will view as successful is happiness, and that because it's so subjective and because it's something that I know I want in life, as long as that's a feeling I can get to, that is what I would view as success.
Yeah, I think another thing just to add on is like, architecture is such a long career and it's such a long process to become an architect that I think there is, or not so there is, it's more so like there is so much more of my career left that I have not even
definitely
reached or have not started, because I still have like several years of masters to do. I still have several years of working on my licensing, my exams, and like building up hours for that. So in a way, like I am like I want to say like maybe 10 years away from actually becoming an architect. So there is a lot more ground or a lot more like milestones that I really need to hit in order to become like fully practicing. Whereas like in planning, all you really need is your undergrad and you're pretty much set to work. Anything else is just like additional, I guess, like, or qualifications or certifications, whereas like currently I cannot be doing everything that I want with just only a bachelor's degree.
That's fair.
But yeah, like with that saying, it's like I wonder, like, do you have a personal timeline of like other additional features or qualifications you want to add to your planning experience?
Yeah, so to be like a practicing planner in Ontario, you have to have your registered planning professional designation. So that's an RPP, and that's something that you have to study towards and you have to get qualified for. And that, if I am able to obtain that, obviously that would be something that I would be very proud of, and that is, I guess, something that in your definition would be a baseline for success.
Yeah.
But with this conversation, I think another viewpoint of success has become more clear to me, just like right now, is, for me personally, I don't think I see success as something that you need to you should strive towards, but it's not something that you reach and then you're done. I think it's like, for me right now, I feel as if I'm in a successful position because I am happy with my mindset. I am proud of my mindset. I am proud of where I am right now today, and I am happy with where I am today because I know what I want to do going forward. And so how I view it is I'm already successful. So personally, I don't like viewing success as something that you cannot have presently. It's something that you have to strive for in the future, which is what a lot of people's definitions of success is. I feel like a lot of people don't view success as something that they can have at the moment. It's something that they can only have in the future. And that is one thing that I disagree with to a great extent.
Oh, okay. See, like, I also agree that, like, I can be successful in this moment, and I do think I am successful in this moment, but I think my success is, like, thinking as, like, it's leading to where my long-term goals will be. So I feel like I'm looking overall as, like, at the end of the day, when I'm done and, like, I'm retired from architecture, like, what are things I wish I would have done? And I think those are more things, like, that would be measuring my success.
Yeah, so you have more, like, concrete milestones.
Yeah.
Whereas mine is more like a flow and, like, an overarching timeline on its own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's interesting to see. So, like, now that we've kind of talked about milestones and timelines, like, we briefly talked about money. So does money play into your part of success?
It definitely does. Because I feel that in today's world, money rules all. Like, as sad as it is, and as much as I don't want to admit it, if you don't have money, it's really hard to get anywhere in life,
For sure.
especially in like Toronto society and like just like general in an urban context.
It's like quality of life.
Yeah. Which is really sad, but I guess it makes sense. But with that being said, money matters to me because I want to be able to have a comfortable life.
Yeah.
But I think what a comfortable life for me is, again, somewhere that I'm happy. So let's say where I live, it doesn't have to be extravagant as long as I have the space I need. Everyone that I'm living with, like the family that I have, we're all happy and comfortable with our space. And the money we have is able to cover that. That would be good. So basically, the amount of money that I would like to have is enough to live a comfortable life, and anything over that I would view as
Additional
and unnecessary. Like, definitely I would love to have it, but I wouldn't.
It's not a need.
Yeah, it's not a need. But what about you?
Is there, like, just to like further that question, is there actually like a number that you're looking for, or is like you don't know at this point?
That's something that I would have to say I don't know, because like you with the housing market and everything, like things fluctuate so much. You don't know what money is going to look like 5 years down the line. Like, you don't know how much that dollar value is going to change. So even if I say, like, right now at this point in time, having $10 is good enough for me. In the future, $10 might just be like $2. So I can't put a number to that.
Okay.
But
fair.
again, okay, so let me put it this way. Money to me is relative to my my style of living. Is that what it's called?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so money matters to me as long as the money I have in relation to the lifestyle I want to live is enough for me to survive and be happy. That's all that matters.
Okay.
But it sounds like you have a concrete number, so...
Well, no, actually, I don't. That's the thing, because I've always known that architecture, you don't really do it for the money. Architects don't really get paid much. So for, like, in my opinion, success is never relatively, like, related to money. I think I agree that I would like enough money to live a quality of life that I would like.
Yeah.
But I just know that, like, I'll never earn as much as, like... as someone else in another field at the same age as me or the same experience. So for me, like, money is not really a determining factor.
Okay.
So as long as, like, I have enough money to sustain my, like, lifestyle, I think I'm okay. And, like, I don't really equate it to, like, whether or not I have a successful career.
Right, okay. Yeah, okay.
Did you expect that? Cause
yeah, I did expect that.
Really?
Because I think that's how we're similar. Like, we don't really...
money's not everything.
Yeah, we don't put that much value on, like, the...
chasing the dollar.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the way you phrased it asking me made me think otherwise. I was like, oh, okay, maybe I was wrong. But with that going forward, so we both agree that money isn't a big indicator of what success is, as long as, again, it's relative. Like, as long as it's enough to sustain our lifestyle, then we're happy.
I have one more additional question about success. So, like, knowing you, I understand that, like, fame is something that you do not want. Or you don't, like, strive for, you don't desire. However, like, is recognition or, like, from your peers, such as, like, awards from local planning communities, from publications and such, like, is that something that you would like? And how does that factor into success? Or is, like, that, like, something additional?
Yeah, definitely. So I think having my name out there would be a great thing. I think I wouldn't see it as a point of success, as in now people know who I am.
Yeah.
But if my name were to be in a publication of some sort, and it was because I was a part of a certain project that I truly believe in, then the point of success in that would be so people who want to strive for the same thing would know that they're able to contact me and we could work together to get that same same goal accomplished for them. So for example, I'm really into like affordable housing. So if my name was in a publication where I worked on a project to implement a lot of affordable housing and it was very successful, and something like that, and an organization saw my name in that and saw that I was able to implement that, and they want to do the same for another area, I would feel accomplished if they were able to see my name and think, oh, if I am able to reach out to Hayley and maybe get a conversation rolling about how we can implement what she did in this specific case, in what we want to do going forward, then that is what I view as successful, because it's not my name that I want people to know about, it's my work that I want people to know about.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's like, I don't necessarily strive for fame. Like, there's very few, like, star architects in the world, and, like, given my performance in undergrad, I don't think I can achieve that notoriety, and, like, I don't have any illusions in wanting to achieve.
You might be able to. You never know.
Yes.
Don't downplay yourself like that.
No, but, like, I definitely agree. Like, I would like some recognition, like, for my work.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to be, like, published in, like, a magazine for, like, something that I did. And if that magazine can, like, propel me into getting more work. But, yeah, fame is not something we both want.
Yeah, no, it's too much attention.
Yeah, like, I don't know what to do with, like, even when people sing happy birthday with me, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, so I think if my name were to be able to, my work were to be able to get showcased in a publication, if it could be even, what's it called, like a pseudonym? What's that called?
Like an alias?
Yes, an alias. If I could have an alias that people could contact, but it would be directed to me, I would be more than happy with that. As long as my work, the work that I'm proud of, is out there, then I would be happy. My name can be out of it. Keep my name out of it. So another factor of success that I feel like a lot of people have, and another baseline of success that people look at in their lives, is when they're able to move out, when they're able to, let's say, own their first home, because home ownership, I guess specifically with where we grew up and the people we grew up with, is seen as such a big accomplishment. What are your viewpoints on that? Like, is that a factor of success for you?
I think, before we even, like, talk about my personal viewpoints, I think the viewpoints of, like, society that we grew up is, like, being children of immigrants, especially coming, like, my parents came from Hong Kong, where, like, it's impossible to pretty much afford anything, that, like, having an own house is seen of, like, some sort of status, and seen of accomplishment, and so, like, I think a lot of pressure or a lot of input from other people are saying, like, oh, in order to be successful, you need to have, like, a single detached house with a lot of backyard, with a lot of, like, trees potentially. So, like, owning essentially their own piece of land. And, like, this idea is, like, further perpetrated by, like, stereotypes in media, such as movies, where, like, every single family has their own, like, white picket fence and all of that. So,
mansions are the biggest sign of wealth and success in media.
Especially, like, a nuclear family living in the suburbs with, like, 2 cars potentially and 2 garages. So that is something, to be frank, like, I used to think I wanted that.
Okay. Which is fair given where we grew up and who we grew up with.
Yeah, so, like, prior, like, to studying architecture, I was so conditioned into thinking that, like, that was the kind of lifestyle that I needed to have to be successful, and that is the only way I can potentially raise a family and raise children. And, like, I didn't really think that downtown life was suitable for young children. And, like, I didn't really question this thought or, like, this until I actually moved downtown for university, when I realized, like, oh, it is possible to raise children in the city, in an urban area. In fact, like, that is now the only thing I wish to do, or wish to provide my children with, is, like, the experience of, like, and benefits of living in a city. And as for what type of house, whether it is, like, a high-rise apartment, a lower, like, mid-rise apartment, like, townhouse, semi-detached, I don't really have any, like, ideas yet, because it kind of fluctuates depending what's available on the market. But I just do know that I would like to own my own place in the downtown area where I can access like amenities such as like park spaces, public transportation, and like eateries within walkable distance.
Right.
And I think it is important to note that like the idea of wanting to own a house, it's only because of the way the North American like housing market society is set up. I think that in like Toronto especially, a lot of the power is held within the landlords, and the renters are mostly at the mercy of like unsavory landlords who try to like milk as much money out of renters. So like if there's a way for like the US and for Canada to be more like Germany in specific, where like they have a really established housing renting market where like that's something they provide incentives to, I would love to be able to just only rent.
Okay.
But yeah, as for you, it's like, what are your thoughts about home ownership?
Yeah, so I believe in home ownership in the sense that I do think it gives me a peace of mind having control over the place I live. Like you said, landlords have so much power over their renters. Like I don't want to ever feel like someone has that power over me to just take away my home. But with that being said, I don't view it as like I want to own as many properties as I can so I can become that landlord. If I were to, for some reason in the future, own a lot of properties, the only reason I see myself doing that is so I can be able to rent it out at prices where I know other landlords would not be willing to, just to be able to provide houses for that missing middle portion where homes and places to live just are so
limited.
Yes, exactly. But with home ownership, I don't, to be honest, I don't ever see myself living in a semi-detached home. I don't ever see myself living in a home where there's a huge front yard, a huge backyard, because for me personally, I see it as a waste of land. Sure, having green space and open space is amazing. It's so fantastic, but that's why I'm such a big advocate for like park spaces and open spaces, public spaces, because I think that everyone should have access to that. It shouldn't be something that's like privatized. I don't feel that it's right that one family is able to enjoy all this open green space while another family has no green space and they just can't afford to enjoy the same green spaces. But with that, I think in the future I do want to live in a condominium, whether that is apartment style condominiums or townhouse style condominiums, just something where the open land is more of a shared
amenity.
Yeah, I was like, concept? It's not a concept. Amenity. And so it's open to basically everyone. I think that is what I see for myself in the future in terms of home ownership.
So now that we kind of covered like unsavory landlords and like renting, it's like, what are your thoughts on like the specific idea of like housing as an investment or income properties? Because you did mention you could potentially own like multiple properties.
Yes. Okay, so this is a topic that I actually have a lot of discussions about with my partner specifically because he's also an urban planner. But he is still new to the industry. And so his viewpoints on like home ownership and properties and owning properties is very different from mine. He wants to, as of now, we don't know what the future is going to be like, but as of now, there is a huge desire for him to own multiple properties, whether that's 2 properties in the city or 1 property in the city and 1 property in the countryside. But for now, I do not like that. I think that if we have the money to be able to own multiple properties,
Yeah.
if we're not doing something to mitigate the symptoms of affordable housing and just taking away affordable housing opportunities for people, like that's not something I'd be proud about. That would take away my success, as we talked about earlier. But I think that if I am fortunate enough to have the money to be able to own multiple properties, as I mentioned earlier, I would take that opportunity to buy, let's say, for example, a condominium where I own the entire
building.
So I can control, like rent control, you know, like I can make sure that the prices at which the units are rented out at are not inflated.
Yeah.
The only way that I think I would be able to see the properties as investment for myself is through the investment of like time. What's that called? Like inflation. If the building costs inflates, then that is the only, I guess, extra money I would quote unquote make out of it. I would not want to charge renters more money than it costs to live in the unit.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
See, like I've always felt uncomfortable with like the idea of like one person buying several properties and like
me too.
renting it out just to make money. Especially if like the renting conditions of the spaces is not the greatest.
Yeah.
So it's like I personally don't want to do that. I personally wouldn't want to own multiple properties just to make money.
Yeah.
But however, I would be interested in owning a second property, such as like a cottage or a summer house for like my personal family to use, and like for me to potentially share with my family, extended family members to use. So what are your ideas of owning like a second home just for personal use?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, that's one of the ideas that my partner really wants to dive into if we're fortunate enough in the future. But that is also an idea that as of now, I am not comfortable with because, again, I see it as, let's say it's seen more as a summer house where we vacation at when the weather is nice, like a cottage. We only go there for maybe 3 or 4 months out of the whole year.
Yeah.
Then for the rest of the year, that house and that land is unused. And again, I see that as a waste of space. Because the concept of a cottage country is so prominent, this promotes the idea that these homes in these like areas, these parts of the country, these parts of the province, whatever, is more secluded, it's more private, and I think that promotes like the gap in wealth, and that is something that I don't want to promote. That's something that I don't want to support. I think that everyone should be able to afford a place to live, and it shouldn't be something that anyone has to fight over. And I think someone who, like, if I were to own a property in cottage country where I visit and I use, let's say, up to 6 months a year, that is, I think, taking away from families who might want to move to that area to live on a year-round basis, but it's taking away the opportunity for them to live in that specific home because I wanted this vacation home and I wanted it for half of the year. And although I know that it's not likely that there are families who want to live there year-round, but in the case that there are, I don't want to be able to take away from that.
Yeah, so like my feelings are much more conflicted because, like, as I mentioned, I would like to own or I would like to have access to a cottage or a summer house. However, like, I do agree with you, the idea of like having vacant homes and how that like owning multiple homes and having it be vacant not only detrimental for the local economy because there's no one there like supporting local economies and like going out to the businesses there, but and how it is also detrimental for the overall housing market. So it's like my personal solution is like potentially doing such a timeshare idea where like maybe multiple families own that property. That way like multiple families can use it throughout different times of the year, and like you can like tell your friends like, okay, I want it for this month, and they can use it for this month. So there's always someone there.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I think that's my solution of like working out an uncomfy situation.
Okay, but so in that situation, who is the unlucky person to have access to that home in the winter, very cold months?
See, that's the thing. I don't believe it's I actually like the idea of a winter cottage as well, because like I am a pretty outdoorsy person, or like I liked adventure.
Right.
So I think I like living in Toronto. I like living in Canada because I like experiencing the 4 seasons.
Okay.
So the thing is like, I don't mind being in a cottage in the winter because I want to experience the nature all year round. So it's like, I don't see that as like a setback or I'm being unlucky. I think just being able to have access to outdoor space and like a home to comfortably do so, I think that is like more than okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
In my point of view, like, I agree. I am a very adventurous person. I love the outdoors. I love being able to go places, to go camping and hiking. And the idea of having a place to go to at the end of a long hike is really attractive. But again, because I am not comfortable with the idea of owning a cottage, I thought about like, oh, how about just renting a cottage for? But again, that's supporting someone else's contributions. I don't like that. But one thing that I did think about was, instead of owning a second property in terms of like a house or like a home, I would rather invest in like an RV.
Oh,
because that is a home.
Yeah.
And it's a mobile home, so I can take that anywhere I want to. Given it's permitted. But that could be
your solution to it?
My solution. But again, like, RVs are such big vehicles that I don't know what the carbon footprint would be really hard.
They take up a lot of gas, so it's like...
Yeah, so like, again, hopefully this is something that more people in the future will think about and figure out ways to lower the carbon footprint attached to owning an RV, but that would be like how I think it could work out for me.
Yeah, so that's fascinating. Lots of different viewpoints about home ownership. I think it's complicated and complex, and like we don't really know if we'll ever get to reach that, given how unsteady and how like notoriously expensive Toronto and like the GTA is. So yeah, we'll just have to cross that bridge when we get there. So just to summarize everything, it's like, once again, success is quite a general and quite a subjective opinion. So we should never measure the success of ourselves by comparing it to the success of others, or using other people's milestones or viewpoints to like determine your own self-worth. And just to remember that like success is not only determined by your job title, by your salary, and by what you own, but rather what makes you happy. And so like some final questions for the audience.
So if you've listened this far, you can tell that even the two of our opinions are very different. We have similar aspects and similar underlying ideas, but the overall definition that we have of success is very different. So we're really curious to know what your view of success is, whether it's similar to ours, whether it's completely different. whether it's a combination of the two of ours. We're really interested to hear about different perspectives of that.
Yeah. So yeah, like leave in the comments of whether a podcast or Instagram page of like, how do you define a successful career? What are your thoughts on home ownership? And what pressures do you feel from friends and family and society regarding those aspects?
Yeah, so actually, we want to challenge you to really give it a deep thought and think, do your personal viewpoints of success have anything to do with the people around you? And do you let the thoughts of those around you dictate what your viewpoints of success are? I think that would be really interesting to really challenge yourself to think about. But with that being said, that's the plan for now. Listen to our next episode to continue figuring it out with us.
And thanks for following along to this episode. If you liked it, please give us a like, review, subscribe. And for more, until then, follow us on Instagram at What's the Plan Podcast for what the next plan is.